All right, welcome everybody to the presentation. I'm Trevor. I'm going to be hosting this tonight, and I want to talk to you guys about a metric that's talked a lot about in e-commerce especially, but within business generally. It's called the conversion rate, okay? And conversion rate is just a measurement, and it measures the number of people that come to your site, or out of the number of people that come to your site in a given interval of time, how many of those people actually buy. So you could track your conversion rate on a daily basis, you could track it on a weekly basis, you could track it on a monthly basis. Overall, you could have a conversion rate of a certain percentage. But it just means if, say, 100 people walk into your website to visit your website, and it could be from Facebook, or they could find you from some sort of a referral website, or they might find you right in Google or Bing or whatever. Conversion rate says how many of those people actually buy from you. Okay? If you're selling something on an e-commerce site, or if you have affiliate ads, or you're trying to collect emails, or you're trying to collect signups, or whatever you're trying to get somebody to do, the whole purpose of your site, that's a conversion. So we're trying to measure that rate. Now, as it relates to e-commerce, just a little bit more, there's certain percentages that are ideal, and we're going to talk about those. But as a general rule, if you look at the graph right here, this is for more e-commerce related sites that are selling products. You're going to notice here, this little graph shows you per where the visitor is coming from, the average conversion rate for a website. So in other words, take Facebook right here in the middle. Right? Do you guys all see Facebook? What's the conversion on the little Facebook bar right there? What's the conversion rate? It's a little over 1%, isn't it? 1.08% on average. So what does that mean? Well, it means if you got 100 visitors to your site sent to you via Facebook, one of those people is going to convert. One of those people, on average, would buy from you. Okay? How about Twitter? Twitter doesn't look great, does it? 0.22%. How many is that out of 100? You get 100 visitors that are sent to you from Twitter. How many of those visitors buy from you on average, based on that percentage? Zero, right? Less than 1%. In fact, what that's basically saying is it would take 500 visitors from Twitter to get you one sale. Does that make sense to you guys? Now, you may not have heard of some of these places. LinkedIn doesn't seem to convert very well. StumbleUpon is a website. It's kind of a social site that doesn't seem to convert well. Now, that's not to say that Twitter is worthless, okay? Let's keep that in mind. Like, Twitter has, although it may not send you direct sales that turn into buys for you, it still serves a purpose in other ways to help promote your business, okay? But they're just saying, based off of a visitor finding you from Twitter, you don't convert very many of those. 1 out of every 500, right? And then it gets a whole lot worse. StumbleUpon, that's terrible, right? 0.02% of a percent. It's terrible, right? So in other words, you have to get a whole crap load of traffic from StumbleUpon to ever convert a sale. But look your way up the opposite side. Does it surprise you at all what you guys see there? Who leads the pack? Actually, when I looked at this graph initially, I was a little surprised. Mostly search engines, right? Aren't these? I mean, these are search engines. You've got Google. Ask is a search engine. Yahoo is a search engine. Bing is a search engine. AOL is a search engine. So search engines. How many of you guys have used AOL as a search in like the last 5 years? Probably not very many of you guys, right? I mean, AOL almost nobody uses anymore. So even though it's 4.5%, meaning, you know, out of 100 people, you'd have 4 to almost 5 people convert if they came to you from AOL. Just I don't know why that is, honestly, but the problem is nobody searches through AOL hardly, right? America Online, right? A lot of us don't even remember that. That was like the old dial-up thing. They've been dying slowly for a long time. But Bing and Yahoo are still relevant. But remember this, guys, even though Google says 1.71%, that's still pretty high. And Google has by far more traffic coming out of it than anywhere else. So let's not misunderstand this information and lead us to believe that we really need to be focusing on our rankings in Yahoo or in Bing. Because although the conversion rate might be higher, the possibility for a lot of traffic is a lot lower because people don't use it as much, right? It's a whole lot easier to get 100 visitors in Google than it is to get 100 visitors in Yahoo. So here's the big reason why I show you this. Okay, when it comes to conversion rate, there's a reason why for the last X number of weeks, we haven't spent a ton of our time on social media yet. Because social media doesn't necessarily send you high converting visitors. Per 100 Facebook visitors, you get 1 sale. Per 500 Twitter visitors, you get a sale. It just doesn't convert directly as well. So our strategy from the beginning has been very much a search engine strategy because those convert quite a bit better, right? And I'm a little surprised Google isn't higher up there, but that doesn't matter necessarily because that's where you're going to get most of your traffic. So put it into perspective, guys. If you're getting a lot of your traffic out of Google, about 2 out of every 100 visitors will buy from you. That's an important thing to remember. We're going to talk more about that here in just a second. Let me show you guys another little chart here. Those were average numbers before. Let's talk about overall. I know this looks a little confusing, but let me explain it. Overall, of all the websites that exist out there, we can look at what the median conversion rate is. Okay, so first of all, let's look here. The axis here at the very bottom, right? You've got search conversion rate, and you've got a blue bar going up the side here. So this is all websites that convert on the internet below 0.5%. They're saying close to 14% of websites that are on the internet close a conversion rate at below 0.5%. So somebody tell me what that means intuitively. 14% of all websites on the internet do what? What do I mean by convert at below 0.5%? What does that mean intuitively? Somebody explain that. So put it in simple terms, per 100 visitors, how many people buy? On average, 0, okay? In other words, it takes 200 or more visitors to get somebody to buy on their website. So they're saying 14% of all websites out there on the internet that are trying to make sales, 14% of those need 200 visitors or more to get a sale. Does that make sense to you guys? And then if you look up here to the next little part, it's almost equal. 0.5 to 1% conversion rate is another close to 14%. And then there's about 10% of websites here on the internet do 1.5 or 1 to 1.5 and so on and so forth. Now for us, real quick, what's our goal? Like, what kind of a conversion rate do we want on our site? What's our ideal percentage? What do we want to achieve on our websites? I would argue, like, yeah, as high as possible, Kirk. Exactly. Like, I want to make sure I want 100%, right? I want everybody who walks into my store, or in this case, clicks into my store. I want 100% of those people to buy a product from me. Okay, but that's not really reasonable, right? No business in the world has a 100% conversion rate. Well, I mean, not that I know of, at least, right? But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get everybody who comes to our site to buy from us. Well, so here's the truth. As you look down this graph right here, the median, right, meaning middle of the pack, basically the average, right? The average website on the internet, according to this, and these stats aren't perfect, but they're pretty darn close. 2.35%, okay? 2.35%. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, if you have 1,000 visitors, that means 23.5 people buy, right? If you have 100 visitors, that means, you know, almost 2.5 people buy, right? If you have 200 visitors, that means about 5 people buy. That's about I mean, that's right down there. That's the median, right? So what do you guys want to shoot for? Well, we'd really like to be in that region or higher, guys. Now here's the thing. There's a lot of variables to consider. It depends on your niche. Some niches close at a higher percentage than others. Amazon, I can't remember the latest stat on that, but Amazon converts around to 2 from what I understand. But this is pretty important data, because if you know your conversion rate, you know a lot about your business. So it's a big deal, right? If you know your conversion rate, you know just exactly how many sales you get per 100 visitors. And if you're converting it around the median, which is around, let's say, 2.5, well, I mean, you get 2.5 sales per 100 visitors. You know, if you get 1,000 visitors, that's 25 sales. And you have to kind of figure out, you know, I guess let's do a little example. Let's say your average profit margin on your sales on your website is a simple $10. Okay, you make a sale, you make $10. Well, you know, if your average at 100 visitors per day, you know, you're gonna make what, $25 roughly, 2.5 sales. That's not much, right? So you either need to really increase your traffic, or you need to increase your conversion rate. Take that up a ways, you know, at 200 visitors a day, you're making $50 a day. Really, if you're going to make sizable money on a web business like that, you need at least 400 visitors a day so that you're making, you know, $100 a day in profit, right? So just in essence, I want you guys to understand, and I bring this up because a lot of you guys are getting some traffic to your sites, but you're not getting many sales. Like, you're getting the occasional onesie and twosies here and there. And you're like, what's the matter with my website? My website's broken. You know, it's not working well. Well, it's not your website, guys. In most cases, it's your traffic. You're not getting enough visitors to close sustainable sales. If you want to close sustainable sales, you really need to be, in most cases, well above 100 visitors a day. And I know a lot of you guys haven't made it to that yet, right? And if you've got an average conversion rate like we're teaching you about tonight, if you're right there run of the mill like everybody else, you'll get 2.5 sales per 100 visitors, and that should put it into perspective. Now you can see down the graph here, like there's some sites out there that convert much higher, 9-10%, but traditionally in e-commerce, you're not going to be one of those kind of sites. You're going to be around 2.5%. And that's not something to be dismayed about. People make tons of money. Like, if you can get good Google rankings and you're getting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of visitors to your site every day, you're going to still clean house. You're going to make a lot of money, right? But you got to get there. You got to get that traffic. So rather than like, if you're struggling to really make a lot of money on your site right now, rather than going into your site and like tinkering with the design and trying to fix the look of the site, changing colors, changing fonts, messing with prices, right? Those are things that could potentially affect the conversion rate. If you have a really hideous site, you might have a low conversion rate, but I promise none of that matters early on. Your whole goal right now needs to be to dump as much traffic onto your site as you possibly can. Because if you're dumping 500, 600, 700 visitors on your site a day, and you're still not closing very many sales, then we need to look at fixing your conversion rate. But chances are, especially with how good a lot of your guys' sites look, like, you'll be right in that 2.5% range, and you'll be closing sales. So I don't want to see you guys who are struggling with sales looking at your site like, oh, it's because I got a crappy site, or it's, oh, I didn't pick the right kind of niche. I'm in the wrong market, clearly. I'm not closing sales, so I must have picked the wrong market. Nope, that's not true either. 90% of the time, if you're not closing sales, it's because you don't have enough traffic. That's the truth, and that's why I wanted to teach you guys about conversion rate tonight, to tell you that a good website converts at 2.5%. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it. Kirk says it's kind of like stores get a lot more visitors than they get actual sales. Yeah, like it actually takes a decent website 100 visitors to close a couple of sales. And you need to know that, because if you're looking at your statistics and you're like, Trevor, I'm getting 40 visitors a day and I only close one sale a week. Well, I mean, maybe we could work on that conversion rate, but we got to work on the fact that you only get 40 visitors a day, right? So anyway, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. You can take this into a whole lot more depth, because conversion rate you can look at, like we looked at just a minute ago. We can look at where the visitors are coming from. Okay, if you're getting most of your traffic from Twitter, you're probably struggling with your sales, right? You're getting a lot of your traffic from some of these other social media sites or unrecognizable sites that are out there. You're probably, like, a lot of those aren't going to convert. That's, again, why we're trying to focus on search engines, right? Okay. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about conversion rate tonight. This was really just designed to educate you guys and give you at least a proper perspective about conversion rate. You can read a lot more into these numbers, and you can get really detailed about what's causing conversion rate and how to increase it, why yours is low. That's not the purpose of tonight. I just wanted to teach you what it is, to be aware of it. You can track it on your own. You just have to look at the number of visitors you've gotten to your site versus sales, and you can get a general conversion rate. But you can also get a lot more detailed on it, and you will later. I just want to make sure things are put into their proper perspective, and that's why I wanted to have a quick conversation about it tonight. Okay? Okay, so we'll finish up with that. You guys that are watching this recorded, thanks for coming along. We'll talk more about conversion rate in a little more detail another time.